All right, welcome, everybody. It is time for the Master's, or excuse me, it is time for the Master's Mind. It is Sunday, November 9th, 12:01 p.m. Pacific, 3:01 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time it happens to be where you are because you are watching us right now. We're going to get started here in just a moment, so I hope you are ready because I know Robert has been sharing with us all this week that he's got a special message for us today, Sunday, being the Master's Mind. So let's not waste any time. Let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome Terry and Robert Hollis.
Well, thank you guys very much. I love and appreciate you all. And thank you so much for jumping on here. I see Bill is on here now. We're looking at an empty room, so I wanted to make sure to tell everybody hi. And yeah, the whole subject that I've been covering this entire week is this whole concept of just trust. Even though we've talked about fear, we talked about faith, there's this unique thing that I want to share with each and every one of you that really, really can help you get to what I would considered a place of not only faith, but a place of peace, right? So I thought I'd share this guy with you guys because I just thought it was sort of hilarious that, a lot of people ask, how's my ankle? And, can you guys see it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Now, here's what's so funny about me sharing that with you guys, okay, is right after it happened, I just didn't want to miss my flight. You know what I mean? So even though I had a lot of people picking me up, asking me if they wanted to call, people that are medical, I'm sure some kind of emergency or whatever, there was only one thought in my mind, and that's I needed to get to the gate to get on the airplane. Now, after I did this, even though it got really, really sore, and I, a lot of people know that when you go up on an airplane, you also got some swelling, right? So then all of a sudden I could just feel while I was in my seat that it just kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And so then when I get off the plane to go meet Terry, it's like, to go home, it's like I wasn't walking very well.
Is he walking so slow? My God.
And it's like the one thing that I think that's very interesting about this, along with this subject, is because this has happened to me numerous times. I played football when I was really, really young, and I have very small feet. And so the other team would just say, hey, just hit his ankles. It's hard to stop him from gaining yards. But the other teams got so smart that they would just do nothing but just tackle my ankles, and I couldn't play the next half of the game. So they were smart enough to know that I had weak ankles. So hi, doctor. Hi, Francine. And I just bring that up to you guys because it happened to me, and my family has watched me do this. It's all of a sudden I'm just walking and this ankle decides not to work. It's just not there. So they've seen me, take face dives, and thank God for martial arts because I know how to roll. But it's like, all of a sudden we're all as a family going to IHOP, and we're walking in front of the IHOP, and all of a sudden I'm down. I'm down for the count.
Down in the grass.
And everybody looks at me and they're going, "Oh my God," and it's like, no, let me get up and for a lack of better words, walk it off, right? What I always find funny about this is that when people see that happen to me and then they see what my ankle looks like, it's like everybody in the world has to tell me what I need to do. Have you ever been sick or know someone that's sick and now everyone's a freaking expert? It's like, well, did you do this? Did you do this? Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. And I look at that as pretty funny in the world because when COVID was out, then we had a lot of COVID experts, right? And then all of a sudden, when COVID's gone, whatever the next thing that comes up, it's like now they're, constitutional experts, they're political experts. It's like, it's funny to me that most people go their whole entire life just running on their logic. And a lot of stuff that they can say is, if I turned around and said, "Oh, have you ever sprained your ankle?" No. Then why do you believe that you know what to do? How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like, well, I'm sort of got a cold. Well, maybe you should do a hot toddy. Maybe you should use this. Maybe you should use that. And it's like hilarious.
I sprained both of my ankles at the same time, so I fucking know what to do.
Yeah, Terry sprained both ankles at the same time. And the only reason that I bring that up is, if you really, really realize how much you run off logic, right? So now all of a sudden we're in this situation where it's all about trust, right? And so one of the things that, one of my favorite all-time scriptures is, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And when I give you this scripture, I want you guys to really pay attention to the next part I'm going to say. I know I don't have to do this, but I'm going to do this. But I really, really, really apologize to each and every one of you for someone that's tried to explain God to you. Do you understand what I'm saying when I mean that? There's so many people that don't want to have anything to do with God, anything to do with religion. They don't want anything to do with any of that because of somebody else's explanation of what it is, when I know that they don't know. Hi, Jamie. Nice to see you on here. So the one thing that I see with people all the time is that, I was showing Terry a Jim Carrey video that he recently did. And we all know that Jim Carrey not only is this, incredible actor and stuff, but then all of a sudden he, you've seen that he really tried to do some really serious parts. And then all of a sudden he just became very, very like, I don't know what, let's just say the word spiritual, whatever the hell that means, right? So I remember one of the things that he would constantly talk about is that, that we're all in like a reality, we're all in a, what do you call that? Sort of like the movie that he did, Truman. It's like we're all in sort of a reality game. You know what I mean? That it's, I know someone's going to help me with the word, but it's like, we're really not, it's really not live what we're going through. Yeah, like the Matrix. Thank you, Deborah. Or this, anyway, you guys know what I mean. But what really, simulation, there you go. Thank you. So one of the things that's very unique when you're working on this relationship that's all unique to each and every one of us is that I heard another guy, and I finished the Jim Carrey story, that all of a sudden, now all of a sudden he goes, listen, the only really true understanding that you can have with Jesus is that you need to understand that when you finally go through so much suffering, that you will take anything for an answer.
You'll be more open.
Right? So when in my life, because of what you guys know, sitting in a jail cell by myself at the age of 18, contemplating, I can't take years of this. There's no way. I got to find a way to escape from this suffering. And then the person, with whatever reason, throws me the New Testament into my cell, and I just happen to have a lot of time to study this. But I can honestly say to each and every one of you that it was me in that place of suffering, which I needed something to get me through whatever I'm doing. Does that make sense to you guys? It's like no one else could explain what was going on, including myself. So when you're at a place of not can't understand it, this allows you to be a little more open-minded to maybe something else that's out there. And so when I run into people that have just been, abused 1000%, physically and mentally abused with religion, I get that they go, listen, I just don't understand this. I don't want to understand it. I don't care what anybody says. And then you got the other people that are saying, well, I don't believe in it. Well, there's a lot of things that we don't all believe in. So I started out with my ankle, but here's another one that I said with my son, to see him with Ezra there. It's really, really interesting that at one time, I knew my son and Hannah, his wife, they were really contemplating on not having children. And it wasn't like, Matt, you can speak for yourself, but I believe at one time in Matt's life that it was almost like 100% that they weren't going to have children.
Yeah, I mean, like I could go into details as for why. I'm a firm believer in artificial intelligence, and I'm not a religious person.
Right.
So like the age-old thing of it's like, if you're gonna flip a coin and the coin is 50-50 on whether AI kills everybody here or whether we all live in a utopia, I had to decide whether I was going to flip that coin for my kid as well. You know what I mean? Because that's something I, working in that field, am aware of.
Right.
But I just was like, well, after a certain point, it just came down to like, there's always something standing in your way. Like, I guess you should have kids when you like don't have excuses anymore. Why not to?
Well, you're never ready. You never have enough money. You never have the right house.
Right.
Yeah.
You're never ready.
And I'm so glad. I would never go back.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just wishing closer.
Yeah. So now you look at yourself almost 5 years in, 5 months in, and you're looking at Ezra, and you're going like, why was I thinking all this other stuff? And me and my son have this really funny inside thing where he had me go to a movie with him. It was a big IMAX movie. And it was like, what is it? District 4, District 5,
District 9 or Dune or
yeah, no. It was District 9.
Because I took him to that one, but go ahead.
Well, I was with you.
Oh, right.
Okay. And when we got done with that movie, it was funny. He immediately said to me, Dad, what do you think of that movie? And I said, honestly, it was like the stupidest movie I've ever seen. And it's always been a joke. It's always been a joke between me and Matt, because Matt goes, okay, so then the award shows came around and it wins a bunch of awards. And then sometimes he would send me screenshots of going, Dad, look how many people watched this movie and look what the box office did. And then look what Rotten Tomatoes did. You know what I mean? So everything that he could share with me of why this is a good movie, including the person that directed it, it all makes sense. So why didn't I think it was a good movie? Have any one of you had this situation in your life where you went to a movie or you listened to a song and it was someone that you cared about and they could not see what you see? And now I know what it is, because, Marvel movies and stuff like this, the Boys, what was that? Is that the name of the flick? The Boys, right?
Series, yeah.
And here's my problem. That's my problem. Is I watch a movie and I'm logically analyzing it while I'm watching the movie.
Even TV shows. Like last night, I don't remember what we watched, but he's like, why are they doing that? And I'm like, who gives a shit? It's a show. It's for entertainment. Jesus, don't overthink it.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like I'm going.
Here's an interesting question then, because if you know what kind of guy I am.
Right.
How's that logic stuff work when it comes to the stories of the Bible?
Because you're immediately looking at the Bibles or the story and you're just saying this is all bullshit.
I'm saying, how do you suspend your
just the same way I looked at District 9.
Right.
Okay. So what I would tell you now is if I rewatch District 9, and before I watched it, if I could just trust that the person that wrote the script, the person that's doing the directing, the person that had the foresight to look through on special effects, if I could just trust that their goal was to suspend my belief and entertain me.
Like Avatar, Star Wars.
Yeah. If so, when you go into a movie and you could suspend your belief, which is your understanding, then it can get across to you. And so what I tell people all the time is you can look at the stories in the Bible and you can tear them apart. Or what you can do is when you read the stories is not read the stories that disprove the stories, is watch the stories like I would watch Game of Thrones. See, I had a different experience with Games of Thrones because my son Matthew read the books before we watched it, and he was just so excited that I was excited to watch and experience that with him. Does that make sense?
Right.
So then what I did is I treated that movie different, but I didn't think about it. I would say, wow, so, what is the deal with this and this? And because Matt read the books, he knew a lot of the answers of who the characters were, why this was happening, what happened before I watched this episode or even this part of it. And when you hang around someone that's really interested in something and they got a higher level of understanding, that's really beneficial. Well, me personally, as I dive in deeper and deeper and deeper, trying to understand my relationship with what I call God, or Jesus, is that the whole thing is that you'll see people that have such a great relationship, and then you find people that went through a lot of suffering, and what they do is it's very difficult to say to a person that's had evidence in their lives and an experience that they know came from God, because now all of a sudden you got somebody that is doing it from a logical side and they're saying, well, I don't quite understand this. Here's the problem. The problem is someone that experienced an emotional aspect of being connected and trusting and don't need to understand or tear apart the stories. See, they just enjoy. They just get in and they pull meaning out of that. And so it's not by accident to today when I read the Bible that I'm in the middle of the story of Moses, right? And what's so crazy about the story of Moses is that this guy constantly did not believe in his abilities to do anything. Neither did his brother Aaron, right? So it's like God is telling them to do stuff. And Moses' very first thing is, why me? Man, you could have used a lot of other people other than me. And then everything that God tells him to do, it's like he's arguing with God, very simply saying, so you think that I can go talk to the Pharaoh to let go of all the people from Israel, to release them as slaves? And he's going like, why would he listen to me? He's just going to kill me. And God goes, no, this is what I need you to say. And this is what so you got a very much a nobody that doesn't believe in themselves, that gets an audience in front of the King Pharaoh and just basically telling them, listen, I just talked to God and he says you need to let my people out. You got to let them free. So he always is doing these miracles through him. And so, right, the one that I read today is him parting the Red Sea. and them walking through the Red Sea. And he's like, listen, I need you to camp here. And Moses is like, I know how close Pharaoh and the chariots are. I know how close his army is. Why are you telling us just to hang out here? Do you want us to die? Now, what I love about this conversation that it shows Moses having with God is really interesting, because God told him to do a lot of things, and then the Pharaoh would let the people from Israel free. So he just did what God told him to do, and all the people from Israel are free. Now they're in the wilderness, right? And it's like, well, you just watched the Pharaoh do that. Why wouldn't he believe that God would do the right thing again? No, still doubting Thomas. No, doubting Moses. So if someone had an incredibly godly miracle happening to them, where they felt like God told them to do something, and then they did it, and the miracle happened, you would think that the next thing that God told you, you wouldn't be untrusting of God. How many of you know what I'm talking about? If you experienced the miracle, now God tells you to do something, you would go, well, he did it last time. Why wouldn't he do it again? Everything that God said to Moses, he questioned. And it was first he questioned, why me? Why me? I'm a stutterer. No one really knows me. I'm not a good person. I don't do things correct. And it's like, no, you're the one. And so now all of a sudden the pharaohs are coming after him, and they're going to kill him. And all of a sudden, God says, just take your staff, put it out over the water. And he separated the water, and there's dry ground underneath, and all the people from Israel escaped across the water. But no, God timed it in a way that once the Pharaoh and all his chariots got in it, and he put his rod over again, and they're gone. Now, I know that the story of Moses has been done a few times, but I've never watched any of them. I even know that Charleston Heston was one of the big ones, right? But it's interesting that the story of Moses has been done, multiple times in different ways. But I've never watched any of those movies. I find that really...
The Ten Commandments?
No.
Oh, wow.
But you did?
No.
Oh.
I'll switch you the channel. Put around.
But, but just like I said, you just brought it up. Then when Matt's all excited to watch Games of Thrones, why are you okay with watching Games of Thrones? You know that that's not real, don't you?
I just watch it for entertainment. I don't care.
So then why wouldn't you watch 10 Commandments just for entertainment?
I don't know.
Just a thought. See, my thoughts is that Terry is an individual that in my opinion, she's like a rebel. I love her. So if someone said that she should do something, that's why she wouldn't do it. Do you guys know people like that? So I think that when people say, oh my God, you should watch this biblical story, it's like, no thanks, not happening. And I understand that, right? So the one thing that I wanted to share with all of you guys today is look at everything, because here's one that you guys all know that's a real personal thing for me, right? It's not only my belief in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, because when I read the New Testament, and I heard this just the other day, do you guys know there's 7,000 promises in the Bible? 7,000 promises. See, I'm the kind of person, when I hear a promise and I know and believe what I know Jesus did for me, and he gave me that promise, then why wouldn't I trust it and just move forward with it? Okay? So all of you that have difficulties in building your closer relationship with God and Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, here's another thought that I want to share with you. is that I was in a really bad place of suffering when I asked for help when I got introduced to network marketing. So here I am again, right? I see documentation of a guy that had a $62,000 check. I seen documentation of probably 20 people that he helped make $10,000. Are you following me? And so he now says that he can teach me to do this. Do you know how many people I still run into every day that do not believe in their ability to build a large group of people that would take care of them financially forever? And here's the crazy thing. The people that are helping them are also people that are also making money. So have you guys ever ran into somebody that doesn't believe in network marketing? Don't believe in entrepreneurship? I find it really interesting right now that, this guy that got hired, that won the election of mayor.
Moldavia or whatever.
Yeah. This is what he said. He said he wanted to make sure that another Donald Trump never happens again. So he was saying that he believes the city of New York and the way that it's rigged against average people, that he didn't want it available anymore in New York for a person to be able to obtain wealth. And I'm like, what? It's not that he just dislikes people that have money, but he doesn't want a pathway for anybody else to get that. And I'm going like, I really don't understand socialism. I don't need to understand it. That's my point that I really wanted to make today, is there's a lot of things that I choose not to understand. And there's a lot of things that people say to me that they can explain to me how to make my ankle better. I'm just not interested. I don't want to understand that, right? So when I have debates with people and they try to tell me that, multi-level marketing is not a really good business model, I'm just like, you need to find somebody else to talk to. It's like, I not only believe in this model, but then when I watch other people, like religion, organized religion, when I watch other people try to explain the industry that I'm in, and they turn it into teaching people how to be manipulators and salespeople and focus on the product instead of people, I now understand that they don't understand the industry that I'm in. Does that make sense? And that's when people you'll see would rather teach it than do it, because the stuff that they're teaching other people, if they applied that, they can't build a successful group. So if they really believe in the industry, why wouldn't they just do it? Prove it, right? And so there's a lot of things that I think that if each and every one of you tried and wanted to understand, it's this whole point where, what if you didn't have to understand? Right? So that's why I now know why I love people, and I love, people doing incredible things, whether they're a good race car driver or a good baseball player, or like Jamie, being able to just whip off a rhyme, you know what I mean, and poetry. Watching, Tom, I see Tom's on here now, watching Tom play the organ at church or sing opera. It's like watching Craig turn into a character. I'm so much in awe of human beings. Did you guys hear that? So that's why I probably come up with analogies that no one really talks about. It's like, hey, do you know that you can learn to stack plastic cups and be, financially set for life? Did you know that you can skip rocks and be financially set? I know I tell people sometimes, Terry and I watch Sunday morning, And, we watched a guy that, he just wins Guinness Book of World Records for feeding people pizza. That's what he does. He feeds people pizza.
Yum.
And it's like, well, what are you doing now? Well, I'm going to break the record because someone had 2,000 people show up and all eat pizza at once, and they have to eat 2 pieces of pizza. So I want to break that record. And he gets sponsors together and hires people with pizza ovens and has to get this park and get all these people to show up to build. And I'm like,
5,000 people or something.
yeah. And I'm going like, what motivates these people?
Pizza.
You know what I mean? But when they pull it off and you see some of these Guinness Book of World Records, do you have to understand?
Nope.
That's why a lot of people, when they hear what people do, they go, what's wrong with them? It's like, hey, I'm just completed my 25th marathon. Not my response is on purpose. You ran for that long on purpose?
Nobody was chasing you.
But how many of us do things that we sometimes do because we just enjoy it or we have love for it? And if someone tried to add, the funny thing with Terry and I, and you guys all have other people that hang around you, so my wife's like, hey, why do you need to watch people just drive in circles? It just like, so the biggest joke with them all the time is I always tell Terry, hey, listen, this weekend's a championship race. You want to watch it with me to see who wins the world championship? Nah.
Only if I want a nap.
But I don't want to watch shows where women are flipping over tables and throwing drinks on each other.
Good shit, man.
And so the reason that I bring this up is I think that each and every one of us sometimes look at people and go, I'm just glad that they're happy. Whatever they're doing, I don't understand fantasy football. Right? But yet Craig and his girlfriend Susan, they love it. And so my deal is, can't I just be happy for them? Do I need to understand what it is? Because as soon as he explains to me what it is, now I'm looking at him weirder than I did before. It's like, because I think it's funny for me personally that what they do is in the name. Fantasy. So this is pretend shit that you guys make up. Oh yeah, and I'm serious. And there's apps on it, and there's websites about it, and there's podcasts about it, and I'm going like, what the hell? It's like, so here's what people do, and my son brought this up so he could watch the recording of it if he's listening, is that if I wanted to tell the rest of the world how insane and stupid fantasy football is, and I can guarantee you that there's probably Reddit pages that are dedicated to this. There's probably a bunch of websites that are dedicated to talking about how wrong fantasy football is and how bad sports betting is now that Coach Bob's here. It's like, it's boy, what a waste of my time. Do you guys understand that? It's like, so if I don't believe in it, then I have Craig try to explain to me fantasy football. Then it just becomes more stupid to me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not stupid, maybe unrelatable. How about that?
Well, good. Unrelatable. So when I talk to people about the relationship that I built with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, do you understand now why it doesn't bother me if they don't want to understand? And then what's the crazy thing is that, well, why don't you prove to me that it's real? No, because then you're just going to get more upset. Because I don't understand. I lean not on my own understanding. There's ability of trust. And so the last part of this I want to share with you guys is something that's really, really changed in who I am and building this relationship. Now, I'll just tell you guys, I was a person that if you would have caught me years ago, I would tell you that the Bible really wasn't something that I felt that people needed to spend time with, that they just needed to spend personal time with learning God, just understanding God, praying to God, building that relationship. But now, because I'm more open, now my mind is like, when I'm reading the Bible now, I'm reading it for me. It's not that I'm trying to understand the Bible more than the Bible's understanding me. I've always said this to people, that everyone has this miracle about themselves, and they're so unique in life, that why I never ever discovered in the past that me reading the Bible for myself is my connection with that higher power. That I'm getting stuff out of the Bible that I thought that I would never get. And so when I first tried, listen to the word, tried to read the Old Testament, for one, I don't like to read. So I can make all the excuses in the world that, that words get mixed up for me. And I can make excuses and even name it and label it. So then when I started to read it, I didn't get any enjoyment out of it, because I'm going, what am I just doing? Am I just reading a bunch of names? That's all I'm reading, is a bunch of names, and this name and this name and this name. And I already have difficulty enunciating or pronouncing these names. So now this is not fun for me. That's not the way I'm reading it now. Does that make sense to you guys? So, now I'm reading it in a different way, and I'm getting stuff out of it, and I'm listening and watching these stories, and I'm like, it's becoming alive for me, that everyone that God used was pretty much of a misfit. And so I just recently talked to a person, his name is Christian, and, he's built his own network marketing companies. He's one of the 68. And Terry and I went to one of his companies, and I spoke for the weekend to train his people. And so I was talking to him, and he was going, he goes, it just seems more difficult than it used to be for me to get people interested. And I said, it's because you're not getting them to imagine a better future for them and their family. And he goes, man, you just knew that immediately. I go, yeah, you're trying, because you're a company owner, you're trying to give them your success story, your vision, and then what you're trying to do is tell them why your product and your company and your comp plan is the best. You're no longer talking to them about what's in it for them, their imagination. And he's going, holy cow. And I go, why do you keep starting companies? Why do you keep doing this industry? And he said, because you put that imagination in me. And I said, so you're still trying to achieve your imagination?
They don't.
And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, I recently read a story. I started reading the Bible. And I said, I read this story about Joseph. And I said, isn't it interesting that the story was Joseph had this incredible imagination that he shared with his family, and his brothers got so mad at him for sharing that imagination that they tried to kill him. And while they were trying to kill him, they threw him in a pit, and then all of a sudden they sold him. All of a sudden they sold him into slavery to the Pharaoh. And I said, so now he's a slave. His brothers tried to kill him, and they sold him into slavery. And in the midst of him being in slavery, because he's so nice and he keeps talking about his imagination, he becomes the second strongest person financially and powerful in all of Egypt. And I said, so then he tells the Pharaoh that they need to start storing in a warehouse all their food for 7 years because there's a famine coming. And then his brothers, have to come from Israel and go to Egypt because they ran out of food or they're going to die. And his brother finds out about it, and they're like, I don't understand. Your brothers tried to kill you and sold you into slavery. Why are you still looking at them? Why did you forgive them? Why are you trying to help them? And his response is, oh my God, if they wouldn't have tried to kill me and sold me to the Pharaoh, then I wouldn't be this powerful with food to take care of my family. Of course, this was God's plan. And when I told him that story, he goes, I've never heard that story told that way. And I went, that's what God's doing. Is because when I love a story, I have the ability to tell that story with enthusiasm and thesis. And it's like, my whole life is like, people could look at my past and go, all these awful things happened to you. And I can look at my past and say, all these things happened for me. And I know that the things that are happening to my life right now are for me. So I'm excited about anything that happens in the future because I believe in that. And I know that if I have faith and just trust without understanding, not needing to know everything, that if I just trust, it will happen for me like it always has happened for me. But I can guarantee you by this time next week, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to call me and they're going to be asking me questions and they're only going to want to try to understand. Why is this happening? Why is this happening this way? Well, what about this? What about this? How does this happen? What is this doing? And I tell people all the time, one guy just reached out and said, so whatever Josh is doing, you're just gonna follow him. And I said, can I help you imagine? And he goes, you always do this to me. I said, what if you could look in your MDC back office right now? And when you look in there, you realize over the last 7 years and 7 months that Josh paid you $5.3 million. And you're trying to ask me, why do I trust this guy? How many of you would trust me if I paid you $5.3 million? Does it mean it's going to work out perfect? I don't care.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be just like we imagine it.
Yeah. So again, this thing that I'm asking all of you guys to do, I haven't said this in a long time, but I used to say it all the time. I know Melody and Craig and some people that have known me. I've always looked at me building organizations in anything that I do as my ministry. I've always looked at it that, what I'm doing is ministry. And what I just know is as long as I pull closer to him, he pulls closer to me. The more I become aware, the more I trust, the more I have faith. And so the little scriptures mean a lot to me. Like it says, the way to get everything in life is faith. And where do you get faith? From hearing and reading the Word of God. And still, I still don't know a lot of people that if I told them how much time on a daily basis do you listen and read and pray? And when I tell people it's about 2 hours for me. And people are like, man, I don't do it at all. And I'm going, so that it might be difficult for you to understand my relationship. Because when wouldn't talk about God or don't talk about Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, how many of you have really good relationships with people that you don't spend any time with? Isn't that weird? It's like if I, said to Terry, I said, well, how well do you get along with your sister?
Not at all.
Not at all. How much time do you spend with your sister?
Zero.
Zero.
For
See,
a reason.
do you guys understand? Doesn't that seem so simple? Yet people want to try to understand.
You're not my people.
So I love each and every one of you. And I'm just saying, hey, listen, if you would like things to go better in your life, I just know that if you trust in building this relationship, like for me, that's why I keep always bringing up washed by the word. It's easy for me to listen to the word. And so me making time to do this every day is just very, very important for my relationship. I want to be connected. I want to really have an incredible faith moving forward in everything that I do in my life. And like Craig always says, success leaves clues. Well, that might be a Jim Rohn statement. But, in the Bible, it says you'll know my people by their fruit. You know what I mean? So a lot of people go, who should I follow? You know what I mean? Follow someone that's bold. That's where I think is really awesome about where the world is today. Is there some people out there that are becoming very bold about who they are and what they do in their life and how other people can get there. And yesterday, it's like I'm always going through my, stuff on my feed, usually on Facebook. And I was saying, wow, I could go to a person, they probably wouldn't like me doing this, but every one of you has trained your algorithms. What I mean, you've trained them, whether you're on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, or YouTube, you've trained your algorithm. And if you handed me your phone and I just started scrolling, I could instantly tell you that maybe your feed is not something that you should be doing. Right? But here's something hilarious. If I had you my phone and you went through my feed, you'd go, oh, I get it. Because all my feed is people talking about their experience with God and something else they figured out in the Bible. And they're praying and they're doing all this stuff. When you run into your feed, is constantly just giving you nothing but worship songs and people talking prayers and people, so that's pretty awesome. So, you can program your algorithm to constantly feed your spirit, feed your faith, instead of getting you distracted and wanting to go riot. Coach Bob, mine is crime stories.
So unless there's an animal that dies, then I'm out. But people, yep.
But
mine's all food.
Yeah.
And animals.
Food, animals, spider monkeys.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I hope that helped you guys. I love and appreciate you. I believe in you. And yeah, Arthur Katz.
I get it, man.
Right. All right. I love you guys. Have a great day.
Bye. Have a good Sunday.
What a great message. Thank you so much, Robert. Just a couple of reminders before we wrap up today's Master's Mind. Don't forget, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern is recess. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Daily Wisdom at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Thursday is Breakthroughs, noon p.m., 3 Eastern. Saturday, also at noon p.m. Pacific, 3 Eastern, is Ask Us Anything. And, of course, next Sunday, we're right back here at noon p.m., 3 Eastern, or noon p.m. Pacific, 3 Eastern, with master's mind. There are a few things in the meeting chat. Go ahead and download those very simply by clicking on the three dots in the meeting chat, and then they will click Save Chat, and they will download to your computer right there. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for joining us. Let's go ahead, open up, and say so long as we get into today, Sunday. Love and appreciate you. Be good to yourselves. Be cash. Bye-bye. There's unmute. Until next time, see ya.
Later, Gators.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, Arthur, Tom.
Let's have a good week this week.
Dr.
Start the
Sherry,
week off
Melody,
good.
Dave, Scott.
Thank you.
Love and appreciate you
Thank you.
guys.
Hi, Coach
Thank you.
Jamie, Michael, Angela, Kevin, Bill, Matthew, Ezra, and CJ. Hostess with the mostest. Love you guys.
Bye,
Love you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Melody.